Bloom was talking and talking with John Wise, and he quite excited with his dun, duckety, mud-coloured mug on him, and his old plum eyes rolling about. Persecution, says he. All the history of the world is full of it, perpetuating national hatred against nations. But do you know what a nation means, says John Wise. A nation, says Bloom, is the same people living in the same place. By God, then, says Ned, laughing, if that's so, I'm a nation. I've been living in the same place for the last 5 years. So, of course, everybody had a laugh at Bloom, and he, trying to muck out of it, said, are also living in different places. That covers my case, says Joe. What is your nation, if I may ask, says the citizen. Ireland, says Bloom. I was born here. The citizen said nothing, only cleared the spit out of his gullet, and gob he spat a Red Bank oyster out of him right into the corner. After you with the push, Joe, says he, taking out his handkerchief to swab himself dry. Here you are, citizen, says Joe. Take this in your right hand. Shove us over a drink, says I. Which is which? That's mine, said Joe, as the devil said to the dead policeman. And I belong to a race too, says Bloom, that is hated and persecuted. Also now, this very moment, this very instant. God, he near burned his fingers with the butt of his old cigar. Robbed, said he, plundered, insulted, persecuted, taking what belongs to us by right. At this very moment, says he, putting up his fist. Sold off at auction in Morocco, like slaves or cattle. Are you talking about the New Jerusalem, says the citizen. I'm talking about injustice, says Bloom. Right, says John Wise. Stand up to it then with force like men. That's an almanac picture for you. Mark for a soft-nosed bullet. Oh, lardy face standing up to the business end of a gun. God, he'd adorn a sweeping brush, so he would, if he only had a nurse's apron on him. And then he collapses all of a sudden, twisting around all the opposite, as limp as a wrecked rag. But it's no use, says he. Force, hatred, history, all that. That's not life for men and women. Insult and hatred. And everybody knows that it's the very opposite of that is really life. What? Says Alf. Love, says Bloom. I mean the opposite of hatred. I must go now, says he to John Wise, just round the corner a moment to see if Martin is there. If he comes, just say I'll be back in a second. Just a moment. Who's hindering you? And off he pops like greased lightning. And you, apostle to the Gentiles, says the citizen, universal love. Well, says John Wise, isn't that what we're told? Love your neighbours. That chap, says the citizen, beggar my neighbour is his motto. Love my ya. He's a nice pattern of a Romeo and Juliet. I know where he's gone, said Lenihan, cracking his fingers. Who, says I. Bloom, says he. The courthouse is a blind. He has a few bob on throwaway, and he's gone to gather in the shekels. Is it that white-eyed kaffir, says the citizen, that never backed a horse in anger in his life? That's where he's gone, said Lenihan. I met Bantam Lyons going to back that horse, only I put him off. And he told me Bloom gave him the tip. Bet you what you like, he is 100 shillings to 5 on. He's the only man in Dublin that has it. A dark horse. He's a bloody dark horse himself, says Joe. The castle car drove up with Martin on it, and Jack Power with them, and a fellow named Crofter or Crofton. So in comes Martin, asking, where was Bloom? Where is he? Says Linehan. Defrauding widows and orphans. St. Patrick would want to land again at Ballykinlar and convert us, says the citizen, after allowing things like that to contaminate our shores. Well, says Martin, rapping for his glass, God bless all here is my prayer. Amen, says the citizen. And I'm sure he will, says Joe. I was just looking round to see who the happy thought would strike when be damned, but in he comes again, letting on to be in a hell of a hurry. I was just round the corner at the courthouse, says he, looking for you. I hope I'm not. No, says Martin, we're ready. Courthouse, my eye, and your pockets hanging down with gold and silver. Mean bloody Scot, stand as a drink itself. Devilish sweet fear. There's a Jew for you, all for number one. Cute as a shithouse rat. 100 to 5. Don't tell anyone, says the citizen. Beg your pardon, says he. Come on, boys, says Martin, seeing it was looking blue. Come along now. Don't tell anyone, said the citizen, letting a bawl out of him. It's a secret. And the bloody dog woke up and let a growl. Bye all, says Martin, and he got them out as quick as he could. Jack Power and Crofton, or whatever you call him, and him in the middle of them, letting on to be all at sea. Up with them on the jaunting car. Off with you, says Martin to the jarvey. But begob, I was just lowering the heel of the pint when I saw the citizen getting up to waddle through the door, puffing and blowing with the dropsy, and he cursing the curse of Cromwell on him, bell, book, and candle in Irish. Spitting and spatting out of him, and Joe and little Alf around him like a leprechaun, trying to peacify him. Let me alone, says he. And begob, he got as far as the door, and they holding him, and he bawls out of them, 3 cheers for Israel! Or a sit down on the parliamentary side of your arts, for Christ's sake, and don't be making a public exhibition of yourself. Jesus, there's always some bloody clown or other kicking up bloody murder about bloody nothing. God would turn the porter sour in your guts, so it would. And all the ragamuffins and sluts of the nation round the door, and Martin telling the jarvey to drive ahead, and the citizen bawling, and Alf and Joe at him to whisht, and he on his high horse about the Jews, and the loafers calling for a speech, and Jack Bauer trying to get him to sit down on the car and hold his bloody jaw. And a loafer with a patch over his eyes starts singing, If the man in the moon was a Jew, Jew, Jew. And a slut shouts out of her, Hey, mister, your fly is open, mister. And says he, Mendelssohn was a Jew, and Karl Marx, and Mercadante, and Spinoza, and the Savior was a Jew, and his father was a Jew, your God. Ah, he had no father, says Martin. That'll do now. Drive ahead. Whose God, said the citizen. Well, his uncle was a Jew, says he. Your God was a Jew. Christ was a Jew like me. God, the citizen made a plunge back into the shop. By Jesus, says he, I'll brain that bloody Jew man for using the holy name. By Jesus, I'll crucify him. So I will. Give us that biscuit tin there. Stop, says Joe. God, the devil wouldn't stop him till he got hold of the bloody tin anyhow, and out with him, and little Elf hanging onto his elbow, and he shouting like a stuck pig, as good as any bloody play you'd see in the Queen's Royal Theatre. Where is he? Till I murder him. And Ned and Jay paralysed with the laughing. Bloody war, says I'll be in for the last gospel. But as luck would have it, the Jarvey got the nag's head round the other way and off with them. Hold on, citizen, says Joe, stop. Begob he drew his hand, and he made a swipe and let fly. Mercy of God, the sun was in his eyes, or he'd have left him for dead. God, he near sent it into the county Longford. The bloody nag took fright, and the old mongrel after the car like bloody hell, and all the populace shouting and laughing, and the old tin box clattering along the street. You never saw the like of it in all your born puff. Gob, if he got that lottery ticket at the side of his pole, he'd remember the gold cup, he would so. But begob, the citizen would have been lagged for assault and battery, and Joe for aiding and abetting. The Jarvey saved his life by furious driving, as sure as God made Moses. What? Oh, Jesus, he did. And he let a volley of oaths out of him. Did I kill him, or what, says he? And he shouted to the bloody dog, after him, Gary, after him, boy. And the last we saw was the bloody car rounding the corner, and old Sheepface on it gesticulating, and the bloody dog after it, with his lugs back for all he was bloody well worth to tear him limb from limb. 100-5. Jesus, he took the value of it out of him, I promise you. When lo, there came about them all a great brightness, and they beheld the chariot wherein he stood ascend to heaven. And they beheld him in the chariot, clothed upon in the glory of the brightness, having raiment as the sun, fair as the moon, and terrible that for all they durst not look upon him. And there came a voice of heaven called, Elijah, Elijah. And he answered with a main cry, Abba, Adonai. And they beheld him, even him, Ben Bloom, Elijah, amid clouds of angels, ascend to the glory of the brightness at an angle of 45 degrees over O'Higgins's of Little Green Street, like a shot of a shovel.